Hello, fellow Crusaders, and welcome to this special review for Wicked for Good. My name's Sean Watts-Creek. Not with me, as always, is Brian Michaels, because he did not want to shoot the review with me. I know I haven't really done a legit review probably in a while, and that's just because of, timing with work and everything else. And plus, there just really hasn't been a lot of movies since summer that I've really wanted to, talk about and sink my teeth into, except for maybe one, which we're nearing the end of the year, and I know I'm going to be talking about at the end of the year, where it was Wicked. It could be a toss-up. So there will be more reviews coming, I promise. Just trying to find time between, life and work to do this for you. So let's go ahead and get into this. Wicked for Good, obviously the sequel to the first film, Wicked, but all technically the same film, since it's technically a play. And they had to split it up because they wanted to make it so long, which I know irked Brian when we first started talking about it. But what's funny is if you go back 2 years ago, when the first Wicked was coming out, I was lukewarm to barely excited for it, and Brian was incredibly excited for it because Brian's a big musical guy. And then once Wicked came out and we both saw it, the roles were reversed. Brian didn't really care much for the first one, where I was over the moon in love with the first one. So it was a lot. It was funnier this year as our roles were reversed, where he was not excited for Wicked for Good, and I incredibly was. But I finally got to see it, and I will say, jump straight into it. Is Wicked for Good good? Yes, it is good. Is it as good or as impactful as the first Wicked film? In my personal opinion, I'm going to say no. Everyone's still there. Everyone still brings it to the table. I think everyone does a great job with the roles, especially Cynthia Erivo, Ariana Grande, and the rest. I will say, much like the first film where Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande are obviously the two leads, but it was more Cynthia Erivo focused. I will say Wicked for Good is more Ariana Grande focused towards Galinda, based off of how the storyline is. So if you are looking for more of a Cynthia Erivo focused movie, for people who don't know the story of Wicked, she's in it plenty. It's not like she's barely in the movie, but I will say in terms of screen time, Grande is the one who is the main focal lead of this film. Going into that, though, I will say Grande does a great job in this. I would say on par, if not better, than she did in the first film, for anyone who either really didn't like her performance or really loved her performance in the first film. She has a lot more to sink her teeth into in this. She's still kind of that annoying, vain character that she was in the first film, but she's grown because of her friendship with Elfie, and also because she is starting to see what Elfie saw in the first film, with how Oz is, or how it's being run by the Wizard and Miss Morrible and all that kind of stuff. And it takes her a little bit, but once she does see it, you do start to see the wheels turning in Galinda's head, and the performances for that really start to show in Ariana Grande. Singing wise for her, I mean, you either love her singing or you don't. I'm not particularly a fan of when she goes into that operatic kind of tone, and I know there's an actual right term for her voice. I just didn't look it up before I shot this video. When she actually is singing, and I can actually understand what she's saying, I love her voice. When she gets into that high, bravado opera thing, it is kind of to me, but it's still a great voice. I'm not saying that she sounds bad, it's just not my wheelhouse. Cynthia Erivo still killing it as Elfie. I think with this, it's more of a, I don't want to say it's more of a sadder approach, because she's a sad character in general, but it's more of a frustrating approach for her, because she's so badly trying to get Oz to see what the Wizard is doing, and how he's treating the animals, and how he's fake, and all this kind of stuff. So it's her constantly kind of trying and failing through most of the movie, until we get into the meat of the story, which it's hard to talk, because I'm like, should I spoil talk about this movie? Everyone knows The Wizard of Oz, but everyone doesn't know Wicked. So if there's little things here and there I say, I'm not going to go full-on spoiler. But we do know through the trailers that we do go into the actual Wizard of Oz in this movie. We do see the Cowardly Lion, Scarecrow, Tin Man, Dorothy, all that kind of stuff. So I'm not going to not dance around The Wizard of Oz, that movie that's been out for almost 100 years now. But everyone else, though, like I said, is great. Jeff Goldblum gets a lot more to sink into in this role this time than he did in the first film, which I thought he was great in the first film. He's even better in this. If anyone doesn't get as much to do, obviously it's Michelle Yeoh as Miss Marable, because she's not as much of a focal point in this. I mean, she's there and she's still a overwhelming presence, but she's just not in it as much, obviously because they're not at Shiz anymore. But she's still great. Like I said, everyone is great in the movie. Also, Ethan Slater as Bach, and oh god, I'm blanking on the sister's name. Marissa Bode, or Bodie, depends on how you say the last name. As Nessa, they basically have like one or two really big good scenes, and then they're not in it as much anymore. So their characters are frustrating because of the story, but they are once again very well acted. The actual story itself, I think it's good, but I think the second act, and once again, it's that one territory that I have a hard time trying to decipher on whether it's good or do I let it go. Same thing with like Running Man when we reviewed that the other day. Is the movie having an issue with its story, or is it really just going off of the play? And I know what the play is, and I know what it's dancing around, but with a movie you have more liberties to do that, and outside of a play. And I would say the one thing I feel that the movie, I don't want to say lacks, but could have done maybe better, or maybe let it breathe a little more, is actually during the Wizard of Oz parts. I feel like they're doing a very, very focused job on making sure you don't ever really spend any time in the actual Wizard of Oz movie. It seems like all this stuff's happening in the background of it, which I get that's what this play was, and that's what this movie is. But, once again, though, we are in a movie. We can choose the liberty to do things outside of what the play was. And it felt like every time the Wizard of Oz stuff happened, it felt very, I don't want to say forced, but very deliberate to not show a single thing that was happening. So there'd be certain points where, obviously, when Dorothy first shows up in Munchkinland, we arrive just as she's leaving Munchkinland. Then all of a sudden, not even 10 minutes later, they're like, "Oh, wizard, we have 3 visitors." I'm like, wow, the concept of time is really rushed in the second act or the second act going into the third act of this film. And I'm like, man, could we at least like taken a beat here? And then there's like the part in Wizard of Oz where Elfie's like, "Go get Dorothy for me, and I want her here." And then literally next scene, boom, she's there. And I'm like, we could have, come on, we could have let it breathe a little bit. I know the movie's already 2.5 hours, but the Wizard of Oz parts really were a struggle for me, because I felt like the movie was trying to put the movie in fast forward at that point to get to the end. Also, not casting anyone really for Dorothy. Making sure you don't ever see Dorothy's face. Not necessarily a choice I would have gone with. I think that if you're casting everybody else in situations, then you should have just casted a girl as Dorothy. It's not like you're really letting Dorothy's talk or sing in this movie, but I still think that you could have at least casted someone as Dorothy instead of constantly doing the behind-the-back shot, or her run across screen real fast to the point where you can't make out the face of Dorothy, which honestly looked like it was a computer-generated version of old-school Dorothy, which, like I said, it's a choice, not a choice that I preferred, but it's something that they decided to do. I do like I said, not knowing the story of Wicked, so this stuff was new to me. The origins of who Lion, Tin Man, and Scarecrow are, I thought were very awesome, like, twists and shock factor that I don't think was utilized to its fullest potential once we got into it, especially with Tin Man. Tin Man, they choose to do something with it, which I was like, oh shit, okay. But then at one point near the end of the movie, Tin Man does something, and I'm just like, okay, that's very forced. And then we never see Tin Man again, and I'm like, okay, to have that scene and then not do anything after that, once again, taking liberties, you can go away from the play and you can do your own thing because it is a movie, I felt was kind of the wrong move, because you just kind of are left hanging at that point. I know it's a definitive point to the end of the movie because we're at the end of the movie, but you can add more stuff to it. While I like the shock factor of who we find out Tin Man, Scarecrow, and the Lion are, I feel like because we're so focused on trying to get to the end of Wicked, that we are leaving those characters kind of shortchanged at the very end of the movie. And I know that's Wizard of Oz, and I know this is Wicked is two separate things, but if you're throwing Wizard of Oz in this, give some endpoints to that. I mean, you don't even see Dorothy leave in this, which once again, I know she's not the focal point, but still, it's what irked me. It's my review. If it didn't bother you, more power to you. It bothered me. In terms of the music, obviously nothing is going to be as grasping as Gravity or Defying Gravity, or even Popular for that matter, or Dancing Through Life was one of my favorite numbers in the first film. But in this one, I mean, I think all the music is fine, but there wasn't really one that really stood out to me outside of No Good Deed, which was sung by Elfie or Cynthia Erivo, which I thought was a very much almost like a Scars Be Prepared, which I thought was awesome. It was a beautiful visual. It looked fantastic. Obviously, the big number in this is going to be For Good, which is the big duo song number with Grande and Erivo, and I thought it was a good number, but not as powerful, as potent as Defying Gravity could have been. And I don't want to say why, but okay, I'll say why. It's because they're both crying together before the song starts, but then as they're singing, you can tell that the crying's not really happening anymore because they can't be crying and singing because it's going to sound wrong. So it just kind of took me a little bit out of the moment. And if you have to more listen to the lyrics of the song than actually the performance of the singing, because they can't really cry and sing at the same time. I will say there's a fun number in the middle called Wonderful between three characters, which I'm not going to say just because of spoilers, that I thought was very, very fun. But outside of that, there wasn't really... I mean, like I said, they're good songs, but nothing that's as memorable to me as the first film was. Also, Jonathan Bailey as Fiyero definitely gets a little more chew on in this. I really liked his performance. Could I have liked more of it, or could I have gotten more of it? Sure, but I think he is there for basically to move the story forward and to get some plot points going through, and I think Jonathan Bailey does a good job. I'm excited to see what he continues to do more. I liked him in Jurassic World Rebirth as well, but I thought he did a real good job as Fiyero in both films, and I really, really am excited to see what he does from here on out. I think in terms of, like, award season, if this isn't even up for awards compared to the first film, I feel like Grande will have probably the inside track because she gets more to do in this than Erivo does. Unlike the first film, I felt like it was Erivo, even though I think Grande is the one that got nominated. I don't believe Erivo got nominated in the first one. But yeah, visually everything still looks great. There's nothing that looks outright bad. I think Cowardly Lion even looks good. I think Tin Man and Scarecrow look good when we do get to look at them, like I said, because they are felt like they're in the background the whole time. So, I mean, everything that worked in John Chu's first film was still there, still worked great. Music not as strong, but once again, that's not his fault. That's, the play, that's, what they did in the play. Performances-wise, everyone's great. Grande's even better in this one than she was in the first one. Not as fun, obviously, because of, where the story goes. Same thing with Erivo, but both of their performances are magnetic. They have beautiful chemistry together, and I love watching those two interact on screen. There's a really awesome, fun moment with them in the middle of the movie that I really enjoyed. Jeff Goldblum's better in this. Michelle Yeoh's great, not used as much in the first film, and like I said, same thing, Jonathan Bailey, he's great. So, like I said, I enjoyed the movie. I was not disappointed in it outside of the... Sorry, my alarm's going off. I enjoyed the movie for what it was. Didn't enjoy it as much as the first one. I think the characters... it's not that they were stronger in the first film, but I felt like the interactions with them, because of where the story was going in the first one, was stronger. Obviously, like I said, the added part of The Wizard of Oz was fun, but not utilized to its fullest potential for me personally. So for me, I'm going to give Wicked 4 stars. I think I gave the first one 4.5. So it's not a huge drop for me. I think as a whole, both movies are fantastic, and I would love to go back and rewatch them again multiple times. I'm definitely not disappointed in either one. Obviously, disappointed in terms of that this one didn't match how I felt about the first film, But I mean, you can say that about a lot of part two. Same thing with like It Chapter One going to It Chapter Two, or even like Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, or any of the other movies that are one big movie that got split into two. Even Kill Bill. I always love Kill Bill Volume One more than Kill Bill Volume Two. So that's not a knock on Wicked for Good. I think it's still a very strong film, and you guys are going to enjoy it. And some people, like Brian, he enjoyed the second one better than the first one. So it could go either way for you guys. But let me know your thoughts below. Did you guys like Wicked for Good? Were you guys not as bothered as me about the Wizard of Oz editions or lack thereof as I was, or did you guys cool with it because that's probably how it was in the play? Let me know in the comments below. Coming up next, not quite sure yet. I know we're heading towards the home stretch of 2025, so definitely Brian, myself, will be back at the end of the year for the best of, worst of, most surprising and most disappointing films of 2025. Obviously, there's going to be some more reviews sprinkled out through there. Out right now, we do have a joint review for The Running Man, Edgar Wright and Glenn Powell's latest film. And then also we did a franchise flashback as we talked about the Alien Predator universe with Predator Badlands being released and Alien Earth and Predator Killer Killers earlier this year. We're going to kind of go over all those, as well as give our cumulative ranking of all the Alien Predator films. So that's out now. Feel free to check that out. But yeah, until next time, in case I don't see you, go watch some movies and go have some fun.
You're still here. It's over. Go home.